The Wild Wild West.
Hey, welcome to the podcast. Thank you guys so much. Nick Hexum S.A. Martinez.
Sure.
Oh, come on, man. Don't me. That's the right name.
Yes.
All right.
I respond to it.
Dude, I'm terrible with names, and it's the bane of my existence. Dude, I know you guys for real. I don't want to, I don't want to be
you
weird.
You can say it.
You guys fucking rule. You guys got me through the sweatiest period of my life easily. Me and my friends would just wax up a 4x4 like post, just skateboard, like
oh nice man,
board slide it and shit. 7th grade, just all head boners. It was fucking weird. But no, you guys fucking rule, dude. Thanks for doing this. I was like genuinely stoked. I don't get stoked on a lot of stuff, and I saw that come through my email, and I was like, oh. Yes, please.
That's so nice to hear. So 7th grade, like for context, was that late 90s? Or?
Yes. Yeah, late 90s. Yeah, because my older brothers, they graduated like 96, 98, and I was like 4 years younger than them. But yeah, it was for real. Like, I mean, you guys obviously are older than me, but you don't really look it. But yeah, I'm aging rapidly. But yeah, it was like, that shit was crazy, dude. Just be like bopping around 7th grade doing your thing, and all of a sudden someone hits you with, I had the Blue album, the self-titled album first. And then I was just like, dude, this is crazy. We were just that one song down. It was allegedly about making out, right?
Well, he mentions making out.
So but the funniest thing, the lore associated with you guys was so funny. It was like everyone would be like, yeah, dude, they studied music actually at the Juilliard. And I'd be like, yeah, obviously I can tell, dude. They're definitely Juilliard. I was like in 7th grade, like, yeah, obviously. But yeah, we'd all think about making out. We'd be like, I can't wait to fucking make out, dude. It's going to be so sick. Dude.
Well, it's so funny because we just played this spot called Interlochen, which is like the Juilliard for high school kids. And
Michigan.
the chick I made out with in a dark hallway, I went to Interlochen when we met in summer camp, and she was telling me about this other camp, and it sounded really prestigious, and it was like, so we were just there, and it was one of those full circle moments.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I did not know that. This is news to me.
That's news to you?
Yeah. Well, it was summer camp. That was my dark hallway makeout.
Then you went to the other summer camp.
No, she went. No, we played there. 311 played. They have an amphitheater.
And
there.
it brought back the story.
I know. I'm trying to figure out if you made out to make it full circle. When
yeah,
you got back there.
Where was the makeout? That was in
the
Nebraska?
Makeout was in Nebraska.
Yeah.
It was in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Dude, that's awesome.
Music camp, and she was a violinist.
What?
Those were the days.
Yeah, dude, that was sick. Making out before you knew about anything else was like, does it get better than this? And you're like, yeah, it turns out it absolutely stabilizes your life, the rest of it.
That's a good reference point.
Well, dude, that's fucking awesome, man. So you guys have been touring for what, like 20, 30? How long have you guys been touring for?
Since 93.
What?
Yeah.
What's the secret to the staying power, dude? A lot of like bands just completely disintegrate. How do you guys do it?
We just don't say no to anything.
Heroin?
We don't say no. Yeah, we do say no to that. We don't say no to gigs, and we don't break up. Yeah, like, what's the secret to keeping a band together? Don't break up.
Yeah, true. That's a good point. How do you balance, though? What do you think? What's the force? What's like the centrifugal force that just pulls bands apart, would you say?
Ego.
Yeah.
You know, people... digging in too hard on their positions. I mean, we respect democracy, and we have 5 band members. So if it ever needs to come down to a vote, it's going to be, 2 against 3. If it was 4 people and it was 2 against 2, then what do you do? Yeah. So fortunately, we have an odd number of band members, but most of the time we just talk things out, and it doesn't really even come to a vote. Somebody gives in, and we just keep talking until there's a consensus. But if there ever needs to be a vote, then we respect that, and just and also keep an attitude of gratitude, knowing that we're super lucky to get to do this, that we've stumbled on a really special lineup, that we're better together than we could do on our own, and
for sure,
just take good care of it.
Damn, that's awesome. Because I feel like that's pretty rare. You guys must have seen bands come and go and kind of implode and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so many bands that we started out with have like 1 or 2 original members, and then just side guys.
Yeah. That's what I saw in your guys' Tiny Desk concert. That's like, I don't recommend you guys going through comments. They're all very nice, but it was the big thing was like, I can't believe they're all still together. Usually it's one guy and a couple studio musicians, and it's so it's sick, man.
Yeah,
it's awesome. So how do you when you, because you guys have come out with almost like an album a year with, give and take, like a couple years here and there.
In the
used to
beginning,
do
in the
that,
beginning,
yeah.
in the beginning, it was like that. I mean, it's a mad terror when you think about it. I thought we were on a bender when we did that, and then I looked at REM's discography, and they did like 6 albums or something like that in their launch, like per year. But it also made sense because they reached a status in a level that is very hard to come by, but unless you put in mad work, man.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of legwork, obviously, and then we continue to do it. But it's important to get back to the not imploding part, to like have some space that you carve out,
Yeah.
So, and now we all have families at this point in time.
Got you.
And,
When did the families start, and how was that, like, balancing that whole thing?
Well, we kind of waited.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I think maybe it's possible, had we started families early, that things might have gone awry, perhaps, because there's tensions that can build, and if you don't address them in a familial setting, that can spill over into your professional life. So,
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah.
So I think we were a little wiser by the time we started families, and we just,
How old are your kids, if you don't mind me asking?
ours are about the same. I have 2, he has 3. Mine is almost 14 and 12. at the
Okay,
moment.
sweet. I got you. So you guys really waited till the time was right.
Yes, definitely can not have to wonder if I sowed enough wild oats. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I was the first one to have a kid, and I was 39, and now there's been 11 kids. So it's
Damn, that's pretty cool.
yeah.
So you kind of broke the ice, and everyone else was like, "Yeah, I'll do it."
The floodgates of offspring.
Hey,
Yeah, they're tough, man. I have a 2 and a 4-year-old, and it's like, and I told her with stand up, and it can be tough. It get, like, kind of like deciding how much do you go away, how much do you not, and you just feel like consumed with guilt and stuff.
Yeah, that's a thing. But fortunately, I kind of did the math once, and we're maybe gone like between a quarter and a third of the year. It's not like we're gone all year. So then when we're home, like, I'm super hands-on dad.
Got you.
Kids ready for school and driving them to school and stuff in the morning. So
Yeah, that makes sense. And if you put it up against a 9 to 5, it's like you're going 8 hours a day, almost every single day.
yeah,
Versus, going away here and there. And I also tell myself too, if I had to work in an office, I probably would have burned my house down. So there's that.
one
I
of my
would have
kids,
probably like beat my kid. Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's like being able to get like a creative outlet helps me not be like a nightmare to my kids and stuff.
yeah, one of my kids said, "Dad, I'm glad you're not a mister." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" She was like, like, comes home with a briefcase and a suit. And like, I'm really glad you're not a mister, because like take them.
do those
to the
exist
beach.
anymore?
Yeah.
Mister.
I saw that on TV once.
That must have been nice to be like, fuck yeah, I'm not a mister.
Yeah.
You get it.
I was very good to. And then now when I do something crazy, I'm like, would a mister do that? They're like, no, you're proving our point, Dad. You're not a mister.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, my kids have got to come when I do stand up. Like, if I have like an earlier show, like sometimes I do like a 4:30 matinee show, and they've got to come do like just hop on stage and like mess with the mics while the staff's setting up, and like I feel like little kids love that. Like, if you're telling them like I'm playing music, or like they say I'm a funny man, they're like, you're a funny man, you have to go be silly. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
Yeah, that's cool.
But that is tight, man. So you guys, you started in '88, right?
There was a previous incarnation of 311 called Unity that was 88 and 89.
Gotcha.
And then 311 started on June 10th, 1990.
Okay, so
And then we were in Omaha for 2 years putting out locally produced albums that started to do really well. So we used those as demo tapes to get us the record deal. And then we moved out to LA in 92, put out the record in early 93. And we definitely didn't like rock it, because like what you were sharing about, the skateboards, only like the really cool kids knew about us. We were not in
obviously.
we were not in the
little,
mainstream. So that's why we named our second album Grassroots, because we're like, we're not going to be embraced by the mainstream culture. MTV was not touching us at that time. So,
Yeah.
so we're just going to do it through touring and stick to our guns, and kind of what S.A. was mentioning, like REM, also like you too, like they stuck to their own weird sound and waited for culture to come to them. So that's what we did too. Like we're just going to keep doing our rap rock with reggae, even though that's not at all what's on the radio. And then finally with Down, that culture came around to us. But we just stuck to our lane.
And it's cool too, because you already had like, dude, music might be an all-time album, dude. Like I'll listen to it still today, and I'm like, God damn, dude, it's so good. All the way
production
through.
on that's insane. Like Eddie Offord was the one who touched the knobs there, and he was this eccentric British guy from prog rock world.
He worked with like Yes. And Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and he'd worked with John Lennon and stuff. So he had a ton of stories.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And it was just this very sweet English gentleman, prototypical, right? And us.
Yeah, what were you guys like early on? Were you guys like good boys, bad boys? What was going on?
Smoking weed constantly.
Yeah, around
the clock.
That's what's up. That's what's up, dude.
Respectable kids.
Yeah, so that was your. So you guys were just like smoking weed. I'm guessing that kind of like usually gateway to mushrooms, LSD. Like, what was that? Was it just the weed?
Ecstasy.
There you go.
Yeah, ecstasy.
Don't forget that.
Booze, Jack Daniels.
Nice. So you guys kept it within like a very. I always say that is the best. Like keeping it within the sphere of like weed, some alcohol, obviously some ecstasy and maybe some mushrooms and acid. But that's good. So you guys were able to keep that. Did you guys have like? I mean, obviously maybe private issues, but like any public like meltdowns with cocaine, any stuff like that, or did you guys keep it just kind of tight the whole time?
Well, me personally, I've decided that I'm better off sober. So
there you go.
It works for me. A little caffeine is fine, but that's it. But everybody in general has kind of matured and cleaned up their acts, so there's no problems in that arena anymore. Yeah,
you get to a certain age. I used to smoke a lot of weed, and you get to a certain age, and you're like,
why?
The fuck am I? Exactly. I'm gonna make a park. I have to say, my kid, and I'm bugging out. I'm like, I can't do this right now.
It does smell like weed in here. So was that?
Wasn't me. No, I'm scared of it now, dude. Like, I sound like an old guy, but you see, like the fucking weed is like 47%. Literally, I saw one the other day. It was 42%. I'm like, I don't need that, man.
Well, the weed back in the day was like very seedy, very weedy. I mean, it was like a joke.
I know.
Yeah.
Dude.
Snap, crackle, pop.
I honestly think I could smoke a whole pound of it. It wouldn't do anything to me now. But yeah, it's like, well, that's cool. So I just think it's cool because a lot of, especially in entertainment, there's this whole other thing. There's like, there's your core business, which is like touring, selling tickets, albums, all that stuff. And then there's like, let's say the forces of like fame, fortune, all of that other stuff. And I really feel like that can have like such a fucking brutal effect on people. But it seems like you guys kind of just were like, all right, let's just throw fun shows, let people have fun, keep doing our stuff. And obviously I noticed you're very like, gratitude, all that. And I think it's working. That's fucking awesome, man. Because you don't see it. You only see the stories that become like the ones that get like glorified or like, and then they were doing this and it all fell apart and everything turned to shit. And it's like, I always wonder like, why does that happen? I'm always curious. When people are making millions of bucks, like, where's all the seeds of destruction come from?
Well, I think, and again, like, we didn't have it. I think he was alluding to that at the beginning. The success wasn't there initially. So it was it took time, and then you figure out. Shit, this took a lot of effort to get here, bro.
Like, yeah, that makes sense.
It's not gonna, ruin it.
So, how old were you guys when things started really popping off? You guys weren't.
Oh, we were young.
Yeah, I'm saying you guys weren't old at all.
No,
25, 26.
That's better than like 19, 21, but still, that's pretty young, man.
We're super young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what was that? What was like the big moment when you're like, holy shit, this is kind of getting out of control? Was it the Blue album or?
Well, it was when you were hearing your music coming from other cars, like on the street, you know? And like,
yeah, I remember.
Maybe we should move.
You're still in Omaha.
I remember once we were doing a gig at the Whiskey on Sunset Strip, and I heard a car pull up with Grassroots, and it wasn't even out yet. Somehow they had gotten an advance copy of it and they were trading it all because there was just so much demand that they were like,
damn,
stolen our music somehow.
Yeah, shit, that's kind of nuts. So how did you? So when you guys first came out, you're saying you're sending stuff to radios and they were like, nah. Like, what was their big? Because you guys said you had like local.
Well, it was like we weren't the sound of the time. Like, when we came out, grunge was like,
yeah,
on the radio. That was like alternative rock.
yeah.
And we weren't really grungy at all. Maybe a track here or there, but not like a whole album.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Of a vibe.
You guys were ahead of your time though, because then like quote unquote rap metal became just like blew up. Like right after kind of grunge fell, pretty much it was rap metal became huge. So you guys were right in time. You guys were right in time.
Yeah, and it's really awesome to see next generations of bands that grew up on us, like the guys from 21 Pilots tell me that once this drunk chick came up to them after a show and was like, "You guys sound like a mixture of 311 and 311." and they were like, "Great, we'll take it."
Yeah, we'll take it.
But and I'm friends with the guys from Turnstile, and they grew up on us too. So it's really cool to see, passing it on as we were influenced by so many bands too. So it's just all part of a big kind of family tree.
Yeah, what were your guys' influences actually? Now I'm kind of curious about that.
Well,
when we met, like he kind of got me into Bad Brains. Like I knew of Bad Brains, but I didn't really listen. So he was like, "We're listening to Bad Brains."
Yeah.
So we cranked it. And then, but as a band, Jane's Addiction was a big band for 311. I think we all saw them together. Helmet was another
Fishbone,
great band.
Chili
Yeah.
Peppers.
Yeah.
Got you. And you guys, I'm sure you guys have met all those guys, the Peppers and all that stuff.
Yeah.
We played with them
Nice.
a few times. Yeah.
Nice.
For the big turn of the millennium, the night of 1999.
Yeah, I remember.
December 31st.
Everyone's going to lose all their money. Did
Yeah.
you guys lose all your money back then?
Y2K, baby.
It took my whole family out.
We played with the
At
Chili
Beverly Hills.
Peppers that night at the Forum, so that was like kind of the
Oh,
coolest
nice.
gig that we could have had.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, man. So, what's your guys' plan now? What's the plan going forward? Obviously, just staying shredded, staying ripped. Obviously, you got the Aura ring.
Monitoring, making sure everything's okay.
What do you think about all of his monitoring going on? Do you have feelings about it, or what do you
Take
think?
care of himself.
True. A lot of people are negative. A lot of people get negative. They see the Aura, they go, "Come on, man, I don't want to see that stuff." Do you want the data, or are you against the data?
No, I mean, at home when I run, I have obviously my phone's in my pocket, and I'm not obsessed about tracking,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's great. There's so much information these days, right?
True.
So if you can tap into it if you want.
True.
Yeah.
Damn, you guys are too chill. I'm trying to see if you guys will turn on each other. But it becomes like a thing, man. When you get older, it's like you do have to take the helm on some regard. Like you said, you're running, you're doing a bunch of other stuff. I'm sure it's like, it's tough, man. When you get older, it's like it gets away from you fast, dude.
Oh, absolutely, man.
Like it's
Well, what we do, you have to. It's a sport, and it's all season long.
that's true too. Yeah.
Like you can't go home and just chill, hang on the couch. Oh, we're gonna go out in a week.
Yeah, you
Oh,
can't
yeah,
just
you
show
can't
up at the
just, like,
Super
show
Bowl
up.
without training. Like you have to
Yeah.
be ready.
I'm guessing you guys have a pretty lively live show. So
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. So you can't if you just like took time and chilled out, you'd be on stage like.
Oh, dude, absolutely.
That's
yeah.
crazy.
No, well, that might be another reason why a lot of bands kind of just crumble because of the stress of touring.
Yeah. How do you guys deal with that though?
Well,
Just working out.
Yeah.
Preparing.
lifestyle.
Whoa.
Yeah, eat good. I like take a nap after sound check. So I'm like,
I sleep in. Like I just woke up about 15 minutes before we came here.
Damn. It's gotta be weird. That's gotta be crazy.
It's where we work nights.
Yeah. True.
and
We
it's
work
hard to
nights,
get
my guy.
after the adrenaline of a show. It
I know.
takes hours to like flush that out and get ready.
Yeah.
to go
That
to
crushes me in doing comedy clubs. You're doing a club, it's packed. Then you just leave and go back to your room and it's silent. You're just in your hotel room, just kind of like.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that.
I like it, but
I
your
love that,
body's
bro.
flooded with adrenaline. So do I. I get right out. I go right back to my room. But your body's just flooded with adrenaline. You're just sitting there, just like. I just take melatonin and wait till I feel heavy, and then I'm like, nice. I just pass
Well,
out.
what's crazy is that in the wild times of the early 2000s and late 90s, we would party so late, go to sleep when the sun is coming up,
Uh-huh.
and then wake up at like 1, smoke weed and do sound check. And like we
Battle.
Yeah.
What games were you playing back then?
Soul Calibur.
Beast.
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat.
Just the street fighting games, bro.
Fuck, dude, that's so
Madden,
tight.
hockey,
But dude, my man.
So fucking fun.
breaking controllers when you lose.
Dude, waking up, smoking weed, and playing video games, and then doing a concert and party all night. You guys have cracked
It's
the
the
code.
life.
You guys have cracked the code, dude.
Yeah.
That's so fucking tight. I really think you guys have figured it out, man. You guys seem like, you have normal, fruitful,
say it.
normal, fruitful lives.
Delete this episode. We don't want anyone else to know.
So
How it is done.
have you seen, in terms of like being around entertainment, do you have any thoughts on kind of like how people kind of manage like levels of fame and notoriety, and like how to like kind of live with it without it kind of, I guess, throwing you for a loop?
Well, you mentioned don't read the comments, and that's kind of a good thing. Like, don't Google yourself, because there's people that are going to be mean.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that we weren't immediately embraced made it
tough.
Yeah, oh, yeah, right. You guys
Made
got
us tough.
thick
And-
skin already.
And we looked
Can't
inside
hurt
the circle.
my feelings.
What he said.
That makes sense. So you got to keep like a tight, because it is true, especially with the internet now. It's like, especially having like families. Like I have my life with like my kids. Then there's like me on a fucking computer screen, just getting all kinds of whatever. Like, yeah, great. Fucking this guy sucks. He's the worst.
Right.
And then like I'll catch myself being almost more concerned about like, my digital rendering with the comments on the line. And I'll be like with my kids.
Right.
I'm like, what am I doing, dude? This is sick. This is disgusting. And it really does need to be like, it's such a hard thing to sever, because like it's you, but it's also not you in a sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
They know he's not a mister.
Yeah, true that. There's a Mr. thing to worry about. I'm a fucking Mr., I think. So, I guess I'm trying to think what other questions I have. So you guys, you guys are in it for the long haul. What's the plan? Do you guys have like because you have the cruise too, by the way. Were you guys the first ones who started doing kind of like the...
One of them, but not the first.
One of them.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Like at first they were called like blues cruises. So
Yeah.
there was like kind of a thing with blues bands to go. And then they contacted us, and we think your band would be perfect for this. And then it turned out to be awesome. We're doing our 7th one coming this
Eighth.
8th. There you go.
Damn.
So we rotate one earlier this year we did 311 Day, which is our big kind of convention in Vegas, and then the next spring a cruise. So they're like destination. It wouldn't have worked in the early days of 311 because they're high school kids that don't have the money to go.
And the fan base isn't really built yet.
No, that's true. Yeah, you
Yeah.
gotta be like, ask your parents. Come on, get out there. Yeah, my cousin's husband, I think he's been on it multiple times.
Oh, yeah?
Shout out Flick, dude. Yeah, he's a mega fan of you
That's
guys.
great.
But he swears
Thank you,
by the
Flick.
cruise. He said the cruise
It is fun.
sick.
You were like initially when we were approached, I'm like, that sounds awful.
That's as soon as I heard, I didn't know it existed until years ago, and I heard about it. I'm like, obviously, dude, that sounds like such a good idea.
And it's turned into a shit ton of fun.
Yeah, I bet.
It is so much fun.
So where do you guys go? What's like the cruise destination usually?
We're going to Nassau this time and one other destination.
Yeah, something.
We keep switching it up. It's always in the Caribbean.
How many shows do you usually play on the cruise? Is it like
3.
2 to 3, yeah.
Oh, that's nice. And then they can stop and get off and then come on. There's like a concert. That's a cool
Yeah.
idea.
And a bunch of other cool
Other
bands.
acts, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Comedians.
Nice.
Yep.
Well, it's pretty cool. Bring me out to see.
Yeah, man.
And tonight you guys are at the Moody Center. Is that what it's called?
It's outside.
Yeah. Wait, it's outside?
Outside.
Yeah.
You guys are playing outside tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are gonna be fucking sweating your balls
I
off,
know.
dude. It's 105 degrees today.
Yeah, it's hot.
No joke out there.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes you're at the Moody Amphitheater, I think, or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. Well, nice. What else? What are like? Give me some of the major lessons you guys have gleaned from your years and years and years.
Well, I was just going to mention that, we have a new album
Right on.
that is coming out this fall.
I was going to ask you that. I saw the single. I was curious if you had the album.
So that I think one thing we want to do is put out music a little bit more frequently. But the pandemic kind of slowed everything down, and we were just kind of scrambling to even stay connected with our fans. We were doing like live streams from our studio, playing music and Grassroots and everything in its entirety. But we're super excited about this new album, and I would just, encourage younger artists to play out as much as possible, because it's like live music is the most important thing. It can't be replicated by a studio artist. It's like a tradition that's gone back 100,000 years. Rhythmic music goes back that far. Melodic music maybe 50,000 years. So we're part of that tradition of one set of guys plays an instrument, the other people dance, and you know what I mean. So it's just very important to play live a lot. So that's kind of one piece of advice I always just take every gig.
Yeah. It was awesome.
Play.
Are you familiar with Harry Nilsson?
Yeah.
Apparently he never played live. That was the bane of his existence. He had like a zillion albums, but he could never play live.
Too nervous.
Too nervous.
Yeah, there's a doc on him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was too nervous. He was so good. He just couldn't play live. It's kind of tragic.
Yeah, the
Like
guy
you were
from
saying.
XTC too at one point said, "I'm done with live," because he had a
Really?
panic attack, and he was like, "I am done." And that was a big influence. That's a really good group. But
Damn.
and I think I at one point did kind of struggle with a bit of anxiety, and then I just needed to learn tools to deal with it.
Yeah.
Walk towards the fear, like
Yep. Can't walk away from it. I have panic attacks on stage doing stand-up like 5 times a year. It's nothing. I just eat them. I just sit there and I'm like, I'm going to die. I'm going to have a heart attack. And I'm like, all right, well,
Yeah.
whatever.
Here
bring
it
it
goes.
on.
Yeah, here we go. I'm going to forget. That's the one thing. Is it's like, I'm going to forget everything.
Right.
That like thought is just an absolute worm, like a brain worm. I'm like, I'm going to forget everything.
Yeah.
Everyone's staring at you and you're like, oh, it's happening. I knew this, but you just got to.
Yeah.
it.
And I think having the mantra of like, stop, I'll know what to do when I get there. Just trusting that you're going to know what to do when you get there. And then it kind of is a way to end that.
I think you're right.
It's in you. And it's just the questioning of, is it in me, creates that feeling of panic. Just stop. I'll know what to do when I get there.
It's a good move. It's a good call. What do you think about that?
Well, for me personally, it's I just try to stay in the moment at all times. Like, I kind of grew up performing. I was always in musical performances in school, etc. So it was something that, in my family too, it's like we all kind of performed. And but I remember our first like big show we did. It was in Omaha before we were to embark on our trek out to LA, and we played our biggest show to date. It was in front of like 2,000 fans in Omaha, and I'm like, holy shit. How am I going to do this?
This is serious.
Yeah, this is next level. But yeah, you do it. And we learned it together, essentially. You know?
That's true.
It wasn't like a solo acts or whatever and trying to figure it out or getting over these humps, obstacles, etc. But to back to your point, I think you place a lot of those in front of you. Like for me, I try not to look at the set list while we're performing, because I have on occasion looked at a song and then I'm like,
Start thinking
wait,
the next.
how's that go again? So it's just kind of there for like a reference point, but I rarely look at it. I do sometimes, like, how many fucking songs do we have left?
Yeah. I'm done.
Other than that, but yeah.
No, that is a fun thing to think about, because it's like, especially with anxiety, which again, if you're doing any kind of performance, even if you're like going into a meeting at work, there's always anxiety, and it's like, the way I think about it is I think a lot of people take a pretty, unhelpful approach to it today, where it's like, just silence that part of your brain with a pill, which, some people need, whatever. But there's a lot of people where it's like, if I were to listen, every time I got like supremely nervous about a thing, if I were to not do it, dude, like, I can't imagine what my life would be like. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like for doing stand up, my heart was leaping out of my chest when I first
right.
started.
Yeah.
If I had been listening, like, no, you're right. Let me just not. I'm
Not
scared.
do that. Right.
Dude, it makes sense because it's literally built into our body to keep us from like genuine physical threats. But when it comes to like, well, here, I want to perform, and they're not gonna like eat you. It's just kind of like, you know, it's kind of amazing to think of like the lives that lay on the other side of like pretty intense personal fear.
Yeah.
And I think we're told to kind of be like, yeah, listen to that, dull yourself, you know, get away from that. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's
I
much
think it's the
better
worst advice.
to have like exposure therapy. Like, let's go in towards that thing that's making us really uncomfortable. Last week's version of This American Life has some really cool stories about like a guy that gets a concussion, a woman that gets a concussion, and then everything loud, bright, like for years, and she just kept avoiding those until she met a doctor that was like, go towards those most uncomfortable things, and then that broke the hold that it had on her. So to me, I always just, you know, walk towards the fear or discomfort, whatever it is. You gotta keep pushing into it, or else it's gonna rule you.
Yeah, exactly. I went to I studied to be a social worker, like, you know, in between doing stand up, and like I went to go. I was like, yeah, maybe I want to be a therapist. I was kind of like bouncing back and forth. But I would bring up exposure therapy in my social work school, and they were like, that's abuse. I'm like, no, it's not. It's like demonstrated to be like 83% effective, like better than a lot of other forms of therapy for anxiety. And they'd be like, that's kind of rugged. It's like, well, so's life. Like, you know, like you got to do stuff that is scary. And, you know, you can't always just be like, oh, I feel very comfortable and safe. It's like, it doesn't work that way, man.
Totally.
It does not work
Kids
that way.
today.
Oh, man, dude. Don't get me started. I was in school with a bunch of like 22-year-olds being like, actually, and I was like, you guys have no fucking idea what you're talking
Literally.
about. But that is cool, man. It really pumps me up to see you guys are able to kind of like, again, just be in a space that is, you know, can be very, you know, threatening to people's well-being, and just stick to the mission of like, you know, we have our, I think you mentioned like our core circle. Let's just focus on each other, our families, obviously the 311 babies, and just, you know, keep the blinders on, eye on the prize, and don't get caught up in all the bullshit and the hype, and just blast through.
Let's go, coach.
It's awesome, man. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Come on.
Yeah, because that was the thing, is basically we had our little gang, so we could just walk into a venue and just, we had each other. So it just supplemented our confidence a lot. Like, I don't know how solo artists do it, but for us, it was just great to have that crew and our road crew there, and it was just like a big family. So we just go in there with swagger and blow the place up.
It's awesome. Well, dude, I think I don't know. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about? You got the new album coming out. I mean, I think people should also dig into your entire discography, because I didn't know how many albums you guys had. I knew you had like a decent amount, but I like looked at it like 3 days ago. I was like, what the fuck? These guys are releasing album after album. Yeah. It's insane. Were you like conceptualizing the live albums or the albums for live shows more so, or were you just kind of like putting them out for like a listening experience? How are you doing that?
Yeah.
Like the Blue album was meant to be like, what are songs that just kick ass live? But then the one after that, Transistor, was just more experimental and studio trickery. So, you know, we went through different phases.
You do sometimes in our history, like, yeah, well, what are they gonna like love to listen to? That type of thing, you know?
Yeah.
What's gonna get hype, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, you think, do you ever have a song where you're like the crowd's about to go fucking nuts, and you play it and they're like, all right.
Last
Yeah.
night. Yeah.
That's part of the thing though, man. Like the same thing with stand up. You're like, this joke's about the
It's gonna kill. It's gonna kill, bro.
And everyone just looks at you like, why did he just disclose that detail about himself? That's not funny. That's disturbing. You're like,
Moving on.
yeah. But that is a process though. You throw it out, and eventually you're like, okay, wow, this one. What was the song that like absolutely murdered? That is there anything that surprised you guys that you were like, damn, I didn't think this thing would be the one?
Well, Down was a hit before it was a hit. Like when we played it, but it was also just the zeitgeist of our fandom building, you know, moment where it was just like the pot's about to blow. You know? And that was a song that when we played, it was a hit already, you know, and it wasn't even on radio yet. You know? Yeah.
Was there anything that like on the other way where you're like, you're like whatever about the song and it turned out to be popular? Or have you always had a sense like?
Well, with Amber, we were so used to putting out hard singles and worrying about like the male part of our fan base, but then that song really was just like a sleeper that.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's classic as well. So you're saying that was not for, that was for the ladies, you're saying?
I mean, it's more of a romantic song, but
For sure.
then we'd have like these huge meatheads would be like, Amber's my favorite song.
It does roll, dude. It's awesome. It does. That song for real does something to you when you're like just sitting there. You're like, God, this is so fucking nice, dude. My energy's definitely amplitude.
It was our first chill single ever. We'd always had rockers before that.
Like Crush too. Like, that must.
It was like #1 for a really long time.
That's awesome. You did it for the babes. What did the babes say afterwards? The babes like, thank you, or
Amber is the color. But it's having a moment now with like teenage TikTokers. A lot of people making videos of them. And a lot of times they use the slightly sped up version that makes it a little bit like sound like chipmunks, but whatever.
It's brat, baby.
they're probably doing it so they can like fit it into like a, I notice people do that now online where it's like they'll just speed themselves up talking at like 3 times the speed, and you're like,
Yeah.
this is already bad for me enough. I don't need this fast. Just more information faster.
Right. Get it in.
Well, dudes, thank you so much. And where can people get tickets? You guys are on tour right now. Where can people get tickets for the rest of your guys' songs?
Everything's at 311.com, and we're heading over towards California and up the coast to Seattle, and then we've got various flight dates in the fall, and we're going to Australia for the first time in a long time.
Ooh, nice.
Around Thanksgiving.
Hell yeah, man. That's their summer too, isn't it?
It'll just be starting, yeah.
Nice. Well, dude, thank you guys so much, man.
Yeah,
Thank
man,
you,
this
man.
was fun.
Appreciate it. Thank you
Yeah,
guys.
thanks for the invite.
Of course.